The most powerful force on earth is a human soul on fire. You have a deep ache in your soul for something more, to come alive, to let your passion pour from you like an endless well. When your passion comes alive, the magnificence buried deep inside of you is unleashed. Gifts and talents you never realized surface as your life unfolds like poetry. You can do hard things. I can show you how. This is Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, where I teach you how to heal yourself from the inside out. Hi everyone, Erin here. So this podcast is a 2-part episode, and it's a very special one because I had 3 of my students. 2 of them are graduates. The other person will be a graduate because she's enrolled in my training. And we get to talking about anxiety, SSRIs, weaning off of SSRIs and what that process looks like and feels like, as well as yogic tools, breath work, and body work to help us manage anxiety naturally. We also get into discussion about Goyetche's Formulas and how they've literally helped every single person that I interviewed today help them to regain their balance in their body and their chemistry. And 2 of them don't even need the formulas anymore. They work that well. So if you or somebody you know is struggling with SSRIs, weaning off of them, this is a podcast for you. If you are a person that deals with anxiety, which a lot of people do, this is a great podcast for you to listen to. So I hope that you enjoy, and thank you so much for listening. Namaste. Hello, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So today's podcast episode is really special. I have 3 of my students here with me to talk about antidepressants, to talk about anxiety, and to talk about how yoga and the formulas from Goyetche have really helped them on their journey. I felt like this podcast was necessary because I had a few clients of mine that I was coaching that are weaning themselves off of SSRIs, and because I've had real life experience with people who have been on them and weaned off of them, and also have been using different tactics to help manage their anxiety, I thought that this would be a really interesting conversation to have. I believe in being a self-healing advocate, and I am really for people making informed choices. But when information is hidden or not available, or even your doctor might not even know about it, how is one supposed to make an informed choice, right? So that's kind of what inspired this podcast today. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce everybody, and well, I guess I'll have them introduce themselves. So welcome, Danielle.
Welcome. This is Danielle.
Cool. And?
Hi, this is Jessica.
And?
Hi, this is Crystal.
Cool. So, what has been, and I guess I should target this to one particular person since we have 3. I don't usually interview 3 people at once. So I guess maybe I'll start with Crystal, because you went through my teacher training before Danielle, right? So it was like 2-3 years ago?
2019.
2019.
Into 2020.
That's
Actually,
right.
It was 2020. It was
okay, so you were the 2020.
It was the year of COVID.
The year of COVID. Right, yeah, who could forget. So talk to me a bit about how yoga has helped you deal with anxiety in your journey.
So yoga for me, the breath work, the pranayama that you learn in yoga has helped me, taking the deep breaths, like calming my nervous system.
Like there's like Nadi Shodhana, the alternate nostril breathing, and Anuloma Viloma.
You know, for me, Ujjayi breath has probably been more calming for me. Yep. The alternate nostril breathing doesn't really sit well with me. I think I get frustrated with it. My arm gets tired. And, but the Ujjayi breath for me, taking those deep inhales, feeling myself expand, and then at the deep exhales, helps to really calm me. So anytime I feel like I'm in a nervous situation, I take those breaths, and people might hear that constricting throat, and I'm just like, oh, it's just me breathing. No big deal. So that, but incorporating the yoga postures with the breath as well. So there's been many times where I felt like a panic attack coming on, and I'm like, get to my mat, and I just do little small yoga postures, just stretching out, taking the deep breaths, and immediately I feel my body kind of just relax right after.
So, fun fact about Crystal is that she was one of my English students, like, over 10 years ago or something.
Yeah, I graduated in 2009, so yeah.
Shit.
Like 12 years ago, I guess.
Yeah. And
it's crazy.
Interesting fact about me that I think I've told you this, you guys might not know, is, I had really severe anxiety after I got out of college, and, I wasn't able to make eye contact with people very well. I also, I obviously taught English, and I think I was pretty decent at it, but I was so nervous. I remember the first year, and I didn't get a lot of mentoring, and I remember I had to like dim the lights so it kind of looked like a cavern, maybe, like when people are coming into my class, because I would be shaking so much, and I would like profusely sweat, and I would turn like beet red, and I was like now that I think about how crazy it was, I was about 23 years old, and I was teaching like 17 and 18-year-olds, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking. So actually, Ujjayi breath really helped me as well. I remember that I had to, they would always ask the teachers like what skill set they had to share with the students. And they asked me, and like martial arts was a little bit of a liability. So I was like, well, I also like know yoga stuff. And I remember there was like this teleprompter thing that came on. I'm not sure if you watched this, but I remember for me it was a very pivotal moment where I really felt the power of Ujjayi breath, because I was basically instructing people, cameras all over me. I was not used to this. I was not how I am now. And I was so nervous, and I felt like myself locking up, and I just started those deep yoga breaths, like using my diaphragm to expand, because that's where I used to clench. And all of a sudden I like dropped into my body, and then it was like go time. And so I think that yoga is magic. So Danielle, so you were the class after her. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about how yoga has helped you to manage anxiety.
In the same way, Ujjayi breath, definitely, it becomes a habit. I too will be at work, and I'll feel like I'm not breathing, and then I'll go and just start doing it. It's very loud at work, so no one can really hear me. But and of course, just yoga in general being a form of exercise, there's endorphins there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in addition to that, you're going into yourself.
Yeah.
You're supposed to not be thinking a lot about other things. So if your thoughts are on your breathing or on yourself, then they're not racing.
Yeah.
So that helps.
I remember you had an experience, we did some body work together, and I released your psoas, and I think I worked up into your diaphragm.
Yes.
And I remember that you had a kind of big experience. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that, if that's
That was magic.
Yay!
I'm not sure how long I had been like that, but I realized during the YTT training we were doing breath of fire.
Oh, Kapalabhati.
I realized I wasn't breathing as deeply as everyone else, not even close. So I told you about that when we were doing a body work session, and you were like, let's see. And when you released the diaphragm, and I think it was some chest muscles as well, and you said take a full breath, and I did. I was like, I haven't done that in so long, and I don't know how long. And you said it could have been from heartache or heartbreak or stress or something, but I'm so grateful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was, that's not the first time I've had that experience, like just to be able to share that with people, whether in a yoga class where they finally take a full breath. It's like they've been underwater and like freaking out, and then all of a sudden they just feel like they can soothe themselves, So if you're not hearing this already, we're going to get to Jessica to talk about maybe the power of breath in yoga, because so Jessica, I've known you for maybe, how long, like 6-7 months?
Probably.
Yeah. So I know that Kat and I were trying to like scoot you over here.
Yes.
And then they finally convinced you, and you're, pretty regular at the studio. So I have seen a change in you and a shift. So maybe talk about your yoga journey a little bit with managing anxiety.
I've had anxiety for most of my life, and, I've done the therapy, the talk therapy, meds, all kinds of stuff, but it wasn't really until I got to yoga that I had found more of a tool, myself, like that I could really help myself. I felt, the breathing is, like they said, amazing. And, Danielle, you mentioned the psoas work. We did work on when I worked with you, and I too was just tight and everything, and I noticed after that I was able to take that breath and everything, and it really is amazing for someone that's kind of just tensed up all the time to be able to learn to breathe and relax. It's amazing, the power of breath.
Yeah, it allows us, I think, to drop back into our bodies, and I used to feel with me, I would feel anxiety come on, and then I'd be like, fuck. Like I feel it coming on. It's coming, tense up, and then that makes it worse.
Exactly.
Right, and then it's like all of a sudden,
breath.
Yeah, it's hold your breath.
That's
why don't you?
yes,
right,
yeah.
And then you disconnect from your body. Like it gets really tight around your diaphragm, and then you're just thinking, trembling, turning red, sweating profusely, like passing out, or like all of a sudden there's like an emergency, like at home, and I have to excuse myself from everything. Right. So, but the breath is kind of like magic. So if you're listening to this and you have anxiety, Ujjayi breath, which I talk about all the time on the podcast, but it is a slight restriction in the back of the throat. And could we all do an Ujjayi breath for the podcast? Please. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. And that is the sound of calming your nervous system. Even just one feels so good. So that is a tool that if you're having anxiety, and you're not sure what options you have, get yourself to a yoga class. And even if you're like, I don't know about that, learn how to breathe. And if you know somebody that does body work to release the psoas, and so that you can fully expand your diaphragm, that can be a game changer as well. So another thing all of my students have in common is they've all been on the formulas from Tim Goyetche. So for those of you who haven't listened to my podcast where I've interviewed Tim, they are ones that you want to listen to. He is a brilliant man. And by the way, I have the only podcast ever recorded by him because he never grants anyone else podcasts. And for whatever reason, he likes me. And I guess, we joke around and we're serious, but we also play. So maybe that's it. I don't know, but I'm grateful. And he just granted me another podcast, by the way, that we're going to be talking about the chronic kidney disease formula that he's just rebranded and released that has been helping thousands of people. Crystal, you were on the anxiety amygdala. I think we may have played with the number 2 for you as well. And then Jessica, you were on the... Were you on the anxiety? I know you were on the adrenal. Adrenal. Yes. Okay, which definitely plays a role with managing anxiety. Yes. And then Danielle, you were on the anxiety amygdala. I think we tried 1 and 2 as well, or just 1 mainly?
One time you gave me 2,
okay.
Then we're back to 1.
Then we went back to 1. Okay. So I'd also like to share your experiences being on the formulas, just what were the subtleties that you noticed? How quickly did it work for you? And then I know some of you are not even taking the formulas anymore because you don't really need to, which is awesome because unlike, and this will probably couple with our discussion about SSRIs, is that when people get on SSRIs, a lot of times it's kind of well, now that's just what you do. You take that for the rest of your life, and then doctors might try to up the dosage, right, et cetera. So having options to where you can naturally balance the chemicals in your brain using nutrition. And at the same time, your face looks real nice and your skin looks good and those black circles around your eyes clear up, you know what I'm saying? So, Crystal, do you want to tell a little bit about your experience? You were on the formulas for, was it about a year?
Yeah, it's been about a year.
About a year.
Yeah.
Okay, and you were on the amygdala #1 formula. And actually, let me tell our people who are not familiar with amygdala. The amygdala is an almond shaped area right around the temporal lobe. And let's see if I can read this so I don't sound perfect. Okay, shaped clusters of nuclei. I was going to say gland nuclei located deep and medially along the temporal lobes. The amygdala is responsible for our fear response, but also emotional responses, including fear, anxiety, and aggression. And it is part of the limbic system, which people might refer also to our lizard brain, right? So it's like, oh, there's a loud sound, oh, like, right? Or like, there's something that's going to make me uncomfortable. Tense up and get the fuck out of there. Or like, I don't know, roll over dead.
Yeah.
So it's not a very intelligent necessarily part of our brain, as far as like higher level thinking. It's of course necessary if if there is like imminent danger that would turn on, right? But a lot of times it's way overactive in us. So yes. So anyways, Crystal, would you mind telling a little bit about your experience with the amygdala formula?
Yes. So my experience with the amygdala formula. So my anxiety, so very much like the lizard, reactive, so when I noticed that the formula was working for me, I remember I was laying on my couch at home in the living room watching something on Netflix, and my husband and oldest son were at baseball practice, which is right up the road, okay? So then I hear sirens go by, and immediately my mind would go, something's wrong at the baseball field. My husband and son are there. I'm about to get a phone call, and my heart would start racing. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching my show, and I hear the siren, and I go, wait a minute, why am I not freaking out right now? Like literally I did not go into a state of panic like I normally would have.
Right.
And I was like, this is working. So I also experienced a lot of panic attacks weekly. So I wouldn't say that they happen daily, but I would say 3 to 5 times a week.
Yeah,
I would be getting panic attacks, and it was for no reason at all. And it would be mostly at night. So like as a time for me to relax, I sit down in the living room, and immediately I'd start feeling it come on.
Oh gosh.
So and I'd be like rush to bed, time for me to go to bed before this like hits me full blown. But with the formulas, they just stopped. Like the panic attacks went away. Oh. So, which for me was amazing, because it was literally crippling, like so hard to deal with, knowing that like I was going to have a panic attack, or like immediately my mind was going to react to something completely irrational, like the fear that something terrible happened to my son who's at the baseball field because I heard sirens. So I'm very grateful for the formulas that have helped me get past all of those things. And I've been off the formula now about 5 days, and so far no panic attacks. So the anxiety, I mean, obviously I get anxious over, I think, normal situations that I think anybody would get anxious
some normal
about.
Anxiety,
right,
like being anxious
but
is a
I'm
normal
not
thing.
like crippling. Something just clicked for me, like literally last week, and I like needed to refill on my formula, but like last week just something clicked, and I was like, I feel different. I don't know what this is. I'm like, let me just try to not take the formula just to see. And it's been 5 days, and I feel like I've been doing pretty great.
Yeah,
so,
knock on wood.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited about it. So.
How long did it take for the formulas to become effective for you?
So I would say probably like 2.5 weeks is when I started to notice a difference.
Yeah,
taking it. Yeah,
you weren't being as reactive, or your mind wasn't like, going away with all the stories, which you shared some of them with me, and they were kind of hilarious.
I know, right? Like they're ridiculous.
Yeah, they're very inventive,
ridiculous,
and creative.
Yeah, I should write a book.
Yeah, you really should. Yeah. So just so people know, I'm going to talk about a few things that are in the formula, but so there is amygdala balancing, basal ganglia, serotonin, GABA, and oxytocin. So these formulas are made using the hermetic effect. So it's similar to homeopathy, but different. And they have been protected by Tim Goyetche because he handles all of them. He's been doing it for almost 30 years. The man he's really brilliant. If I said that to him, he would just tell me I'm hitting on him, which he says that all the time. Real funny guy, down to earth. But it literally balances out the different parts of your brain. It literally balances out like your glands, the hemispheres of the brain. I mean, these formulas, if I haven't driven home talking about it enough on the podcast and interviewing Tim, then, we have live testimonials here of people who it's literally changed their lives. And so I just want to make sure that people feel empowered, and rather than acting from a place of fear and not knowing where to go and what to do, you can make an informed choice. And that's what this is all about. Thank you, Crystal. So Jessica, talk to me a little bit about the formulas and, how quickly you notice the difference. And I know that you're on the adrenal formula and you're still currently on it.
Yes. Well, you kind of mixed it with the fitness formula last time.
Oh, I did. Yeah, that's right.
But the adrenal formula, it worked very fast for me. I just couldn't basically handle any type of stress at all whatsoever. I'd stub my toe and fall apart. Within probably a week, I noticed just being able to handle normal things in life that regular people can handle that would make me fall apart.
Right.
And then, definitely being in the office, things would just roll off my back. I wouldn't freak out. I wouldn't it was literally, life-changing to use that term.
Life-changing. Inside joke.
And I had people at work say, Jessica, what are you doing? Whatever it is, keep doing it.
Yeah.
You're completely different.
I mean, just and just like your face looks different, like around your eyes, like the darkness has cleared up quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've had people tell me that I look like I'm glowing and stuff like that. I mean, and I feel so much better. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's freeing not to always have that oppressive anxiety. It really is.
In the last coaching course, they were calling the body a skin prison. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, wow. How you sure went dark with that one, So, but it might feel that way if we're like suffering with anxiety all the time. Yes. And I'm very intimately familiar with adrenal fatigue. So when I saw you and I saw your eyes, I was like, oh yeah, I know what that feels like. And for those of you who are like, well, what if I have adrenal fatigue? A big indicator besides being lethargic, besides like your digestion being messed up, besides like, everything from like weight gain to like just feeling weak.
Constantly fatigued.
Yeah, constantly fatigued. Like getting up from your bed and taking a shower and like maybe getting a snack, you might be like pretty much done for the day, depending on how severe it is. There's different levels of it. So I was definitely adrenal fatigue level like 3. I was like bedridden for a couple of months after all the stuff with BPA. I was just like, it was like the empath in me that didn't have boundaries, like didn't know what to do with all that crazy energy. And I was just like bedridden. And, I didn't know about Tim's formulas yet. I used a lot of other natural medicine to help me. But if you are not sure, do I have adrenal fatigue? Like if your eyes have constant like dark circles around them that go not just from the eyelid, but start going up to the eyebrow, check the mirror, look, if you have to use foundation, like heavy application of it, like maybe consider something like these formulas or, some sort of natural route, to address this if you're constantly fatigued because, not being fatigued anymore and not having to like constantly rely on stimulants, you're right, it is fucking freeing, So thank you for that. And you said it started working after like a week.
Yes. So that was very fast.
Yeah, I know. It's like, woo, almost immediate gratification right there.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin@erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up, and it's 7 days of an intensive work, followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning. And not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.